Hey guys, welcome to this week's tutorial, and yet again I am unable to do the video intro, so we are gonna start by just doing a voiceover intro. Please don't lose the paper from this week's tutorial, as we will be using it again next week to do in next week's tutorial to make it a bit better. So this week's tutorial is basically a exercise for helping your creativeness flow. So let's get into it. Right, so here guys, you'll see me just getting my watercolours out and basically mixing a variety of colours in my palette. You can use any colours you like for this. I just picked random colours to mix with water. I'm now going to get my paintbrush and start adding water to the paint to mix it all up before we move on to our next step. Here you can see I just use a small brush to mix them. I make sure to rinse my brush between every mix so that I don't contaminate the next colour. This is such a fun exercise to do, and it also, if you can't think of anything to draw, it helps a lot. This is one of my favourite exercises to do, as it makes your brain think of the shapes, and you create from the shapes that are on the page. We're just going to pick some up and basically blot it onto the page so we get random shapes. I do this then with the next colour, and we just keep doing that until we've gone through all of the colours. It doesn't really matter how you put them on the page, as you want the shapes to be random anyway for this project to work. I just basically continue doing the same and adding more and more until my page is full. Once your page is full, you just pick it up and start moving it around to get a bit of more of a random shape. You then use some tissue to dab in between to get off the excess lines that were made in between. You then get a fresh piece of tissue and just dab each shape lightly to lighten the colours, as it will make it easier for you to be able to draw on top of a lighter colour than a darker colour. There's a lot of excess watercolour underneath the page from where I spilled it about earlier, so I just basically dab this down to get random shapes on the back of the page as well. You can do this as a main one if you like, rather than going and doing it the first way. This way you get more organic shapes and unique design. We're going to continue just dabbing until the page is full. Now it's all dry, we can start by creating things out of the blob shapes This is a little character design I came up with from the shape that I saw on the paper. I don't really spend too much time going and putting too much detail in and basically making it my best, because in my next tutorial I will be just picking a couple and then using those to create characters, but in better, with more definition and different colours of my choosing and things. So this is why we need to keep the piece of paper from this week ready for next week's tutorial. This little guy here looked a bit like a bull to me, so I just drew the horn and a bit of hair and the body and the arm up in the air with his hoof. As you can see, I don't really add too much detail or anything because I didn't see the point, as I will be choosing my favourites from this one to do for next week's video. This looked a bit like a little dog with long hair, so that is what I decided to make from this shape. It's fun as you don't really need to think about what you're drawing. The shapes are there and your brain just sort of goes with the shapes and creates from there. This is one of my favourite activities to do out of all the exercises that you can do to help your creativity. This one looked like a little man shape, so I just decided to turn it into a random character. You don't have to create characters. If it looks like something else, an object or anything, you could just go from that and create something else, which you'll see later on with on the other side of the page. Turn this one into like a little worm character. Sorry about my hand being over the picture, I didn't realise at the time of filming. Just turn the page around, so from side to side, because you might be able to see different things while turning the page at different angles. Now we're going to switch to the other side. This one looked a bit like a cupcake to me, so I drew a little cupcake, but as I said before, it doesn't need to be a character, it can be an object or anything really. This looked a bit like a little fish to me, so that's what I created from this shape. You don't need to go make sure it's perfect or go into too much detail, as I said before, because we will be getting into this further in next week's video. This looked like a little egg, so that's what I decided to draw. This one was a bit like a tree to me, so I decided to turn it into a little Christmas tree with some baubles and tinsel. Might not look like that now, but in a future video maybe we'll come back to this. This one looked a bit like a flower, so I just roughly drew the outline of a flower. Really, it's just for fun, use your imagination. This one I couldn't really see anything out of, so I just decided to randomly cover it in different lines and squiggles and patterns. This one looked a bit like a man's head, so I drew some hair, an eye, a mouth, and a long nose. Thank you all guys for watching, and as I said, we will be needing the piece of paper for next week, so please keep it safe. Hope you all enjoyed and get creative with this. This is one of my absolute favourite activities to do for drawing, and I do this regular. You can do it in many other ways as well, not just this. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I shall see you all next week for another tutorial, which will be a follow-up on this one. If you have any suggestions for future tutorial videos, please leave a comment in the comment section, and I will think about doing a tutorial for whatever you suggest. Thanks guys, bye.